Have you ever looked up in the sky and spotted a dog shape in the clouds? Or seen a smiling face in the form of your morning coffee? Well, that's apophenia. Apophenia is a word for something that is totally human. It is the way our brains love finding patterns. It's like our brain is playing a game of connecting the dots even when the dots aren't actually connected. And you know what? Advertisers know this. They love using it to grab our attention, and well, it works. The term apophenia was first invented by the psychiatrist Klaus Conrad when studying early schizophrenia in 1958 and refers to the unmotivated seeing of connections, sometimes a harmless trick of mind, sometimes an early warning sign of schizophrenia. In simple terms, apophenia is our brain seeing meaningful connections in random things, like seeing a face in a cut onion. In everyday life, it's a totally normal part of how we perceive the world. It's part of why humans are creative, emotional, and sometimes imaginative. And in advertising, that imagination becomes pure gold. In today's world, where technology and media evolve faster than we can scroll through Instagram, our ways of seeing and interpreting visuals have also transformed. This shift has opened a new perspective playground for advertisers. Let's imagine we're walking down the street and spot a billboard. At first, it just looks like a regular cup of coffee. But wait, is that a face that we see on a lid? That aha moment makes us pause and remember. That's the magic advertisers are chasing. Advertisers harness apophenia to create memorable and engaging content. By embedding hidden images or messages within ads, they tap into our brain's love for patterns, making the advertisement more intriguing and memorable. Apophenia helps ads to spark emotions like curiosity and make us, consumers, more involved in the advertisement. Basically, instead of shouting a message, apophenia whispers it and lets us feel clever for finding it ourselves. At the core of apophenia is a brilliant and slightly sneaky feature of the human brain, that is, pattern recognition. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense. Recognizing a friend or a threat at a glance could literally mean the difference between life and death. Already mentioned, apophenia is powerful in visuals. Why? Our brains are particularly wired to recognize faces, a phenomenon known as pareidolia, subset of apophenia. When it comes to how we visually process information, two big systems are at play. Bottom-up processing, that means the information flows from the senses up to the brain, and top-down processing, meaning our memories, experiences, and expectations shape how we interpret what we see. Neuroscientific studies have shown that specific areas of the brain, such as the fusiform face area, are activated when we perceive face-like patterns, even when no real face is present. Therefore, this suggests that our brain processes faces faster than almost any other type of visual information. And this is also why we often see faces in inanimate objects like clouds, coffee, and even plug socket on the wall. This means that when brands use apophenia imagery, they're not just offering a visual experience, they are inviting the audience into a mental puzzle, subtly asking them to participate in meaning making. And participation leads to engagement. Another big player in apophenia game is Gestalt psychology, a field that studies how humans naturally organize visual information into meaningful wholes. Several Gestalt principles help explain why apophenia works like magic. For example, proximity plays a big role when objects are close together. Our brains naturally group them as related. Similarly, similarity makes us assume that elements that look alike must be connected in some way. Closure allows our mind to fill in missing pieces, completing incomplete shapes or patterns without us even realizing it. Continuity comes into play because we tend to favor smooth, flowing lines rather than broken ones. Then there's simplicity, where our brains are wired to prefer the easiest, more straightforward interpretation of what we see. Finally, the figure-ground relationship kicks in, helping us instinctively separate a central figure from its background, even when the satisfaction isn't obvious. As mentioned, we humans are incredibly sensitive to certain shapes, especially faces, bodies, animals, plants, and even random objects. Advertisers know this and use it to make their ads more eye-catching for us. Nothing captures attention faster than a human face. In advertising, designers frequently use real faces or cleverly hidden ones embedded in unexpected places. Faces create an instant emotional connection, making viewers stop, look, and feel something. Even a partial glimpse of a body, such as hand or the curve of the shoulder, can trigger recognition. Our brains are remarkably good at completing the missing parts, filling in blanks to create a familiar human form. Just as we often find animal shapes when staring at clouds, advertisers sneak animal-like forms into their designs. This technique taps into our natural sense of wonder and recognition, making the imagery more memorable and emotionally resonant. Plant forms with their organic flowing shapes can also evoke emotional reactions. Advertisers use plant-like designs to create a lively, natural, and sometimes even soothing atmosphere within their visuals. Sometimes we instinctively create connections between random objects. Advertisers use this psychological tendency to tell visual stories, often without needing any text at all. By tapping into our instinct for finding patterns, they can create ads that are both clever and deeply engaging. But not only this, advertisers and designers use these clever creative techniques to spark curiosity and emotional connection, making ads stick in our minds. Grouping. Grouping creates rhythm by repeating shapes with a twist, like tiny birds forming a bigger bird. It feels organized and is great for branding. Isomorphism blends two different things into one surprising image, like a coffee cup that also looks like a maybe sweater, playful and memorable. Substitution swaps one image for another in a smart way, making the viewer pause and rethink what they see. Figure uses one image to tell two stories, depending on how you look at it. Like that famous picture of both a young woman and an old lady. Figure ground plays with background and foreground, letting you spot different images depending on your focus, adding layers of meaning. Shadows bring surprise to making an object shadow tell a different story, adding humor, mystery, and symbolism. So every time your brain spots a hidden face or a clever pattern, it feels like a little reward. It's like tiny mental high five. Hey, I figured it out. Emotionally, Apophenia can make us feel nostalgic, curious, or connected. That's why ads using Apophenia often feel more memorable, more emotional, and well, just cooler. Plus, it gives brands a chance to stay fresh and surprising. At the end of the day, Apophenia reminds us something beautiful, that our brains are storytellers. Even when the world doesn't hand us a story, we make one. One study has found that being aware of and finding meanings in synchronicities is linked to greater optimism, sense of meaning, and life satisfaction. So, Apophenia has pros not only for advertisers, but for us, consumers as well. Advertisers just tap into that magic, leaving little cues for us to discover, feel something, and remember them a little longer. In a world where audiences are bombarded by more than 10,000 ads a day, the element of surprise is everything. Apophenia, with its blend of psychology, neuroscience, and pure creative magic, offers brands a fresh way to stand out. Not by being louder, but by being smarter, subtler, and more human. So, next time you find yourself smiling at a poster with a mischievous grin, remember your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do. And somewhere out there, a clever advertiser is smiling back at you.